She walked onto the parade ground with scars carved deep into her face and arms. Marks of battles she never spoke of, battles that made her stronger than the ones who dared mock her. The recruits whispered. One of them laughed. But the laughter died when the general stepped forward, spoke her call sign, and revealed a truth no one in that camp could ever forget. If you love your mom and dad, hit that subscribe button and show some love to her. The summer heat clung to the air at Fort Ashton, where the newest batch of recruits had gathered for the first day of grueling military training. The dust rose in small clouds beneath their boots, and the nervous tension among them was as thick as the weight of the backpacks strapped across their shoulders. Every face in the lineup was tense, expectant, and a little uncertain. Every face except one. She stood near the center of the formation, eyes sharp and jaw set, shoulders squared like steel beams. Her name was Lena Carter, but nobody dared speak it aloud at that moment. What stood out about her weren't her posture or the faint air of authority she seemed to carry despite being only a recruit. It was the scars. Thick ridges, pale lines, angry burns that marked her cheek, neck, and forearm. They weren't the kind of marks you'd get from an accident or clumsy fall. They were the kind that came from fire, from violence, from survival. Some of the recruits glanced at her with unease, others with curiosity, and a few with poorly hidden judgment. The instructors, hardened veterans themselves, gave no sign of reaction. To them, scars were stories, and Lena's were written louder than words. But among the recruits was a voice that didn't yet understand the silence of respect. Private Jason Meyer, tall, broad-shouldered, and too full of himself, leaned toward the guy next to him and whispered just loud enough for a few others to hear. "Looks like Frankenstein joined the army." The crude words floated in the air like poison, and a few snickers followed. Lena heard them. She didn't flinch. She didn't turn her head. She only tightened her jaw and kept her eyes forward. But Jason wasn't done. Bet she got those scars running from a fight, not fighting one. Probably thought boot camp was a beauty contest. His smirk widened when a couple of recruits chuckled nervously. The drill sergeant's booming voice cracked across the field. "Eyes forward. Silence in formation." The laughter died instantly. Jason straightened, smirk vanishing. But he noticed Lena's hand curl into a fist at her side. He thought he had won. Thought he had silenced her. The day dragged on, filled with push-ups, mud crawls, and shouted commands. Lena kept to herself, enduring the heat, the dirt, and the stares. Jason, though, kept glancing her way, sneering whenever he caught her eyes. He didn't realize the silence around her wasn't weakness. It was discipline. That evening, after chow, the recruits gathered in the barracks. Tension still hung in the air from the day's grueling drills. Jason, never one to let go of a chance to grandstand, spoke louder this time, making sure others could hear. "So, Carter, you gonna tell us how you really got those scars? Or are we supposed to pretend you're some kind of war hero already?" The room quieted. Everyone waited. Lena looked up from lacing her boots. Her eyes met his, steady as a locked target. "You wouldn't understand," she said, her voice calm, low, but razor-sharp. Jason laughed. "Try me. What was it? Kitchen fire? Fell off your bike when you were 5. A couple of recruits forced chuckles, but most remained silent, uneasy. Lena stood slowly, towering not in size but in presence. "You think scars make someone weak?" she asked. Jason shrugged with mock indifference. "Scars mean you lived through something you couldn't handle," he shot back. "No," she said evenly, stepping closer. "Scars mean I handled what others couldn't survive." The room went still. For the first time, Jason didn't have a comeback. But before the tension could escalate, the door slammed open. A commanding voice thundered, "Form up! General on deck!" The recruits scrambled into formation, standing stiff and silent as a high-ranking officer entered. General Marcus Hayes, a man whose reputation for both ferocity and fairness preceded him, strode into the room. His eyes scanned the recruits, assessing each one. When they landed on Lena, they paused, just for a fraction of a second, but enough for anyone watching closely to notice. The general stepped forward, hands clasped behind his back. "I've been told this company has potential," he began. "Potential means nothing without discipline, courage, and honor." His gaze swept across the room again. "And some of you think you can get by with arrogance, with disrespect. That ends now." Jason shifted uncomfortably, feeling as if those words were aimed directly at him. Then the general did something none of the recruits expected. He stopped in front of Lena Carter, standing eye to eye with her. "Carter," he said firmly, "state your call sign." Lena hesitated only for a breath before answering. "Phoenix, sir." The room froze. Murmurs rippled through the recruits. Everyone had heard the stories. The tale of an operation gone wrong overseas. A convoy ambushed, vehicles burning, lives lost. The story of a lone soldier who carried 3 wounded comrades through fire and gunfire, who had been pulled half-dead from the wreckage herself. They had called her Phoenix because she had risen from the flames when everyone thought she had perished. Jason's face drained of color. He had mocked the very scars that were proof of her survival, the scars that had earned her a call sign whispered with respect in every corner of the armed forces. General Hayes turned sharply to face the recruits. "For those of you who don't know, Phoenix is a legend in this army. She has bled for her brothers and sisters. She has carried more weight, pain, and responsibility than any of you can imagine. And she chose to come back here, not as an officer resting on medals, but as a recruit willing to start over, to train again, to prove herself one more time. If any of you think you are above her, you are already beneath her." The silence was deafening. Every recruit stood straighter, their shame heavy in the air. Jason stared at the ground, his arrogance shattered. Over the weeks that followed, the story only deepened. Lena didn't flaunt her history. She pushed harder than anyone else, trained longer, carried more, ran farther. She endured insults, doubts, and the grueling tests of boot camp with a determination that inspired those around her. Slowly, the sneers and whispers turned into respect. The same recruits who once mocked her now followed her lead, pushed by her resilience, lifted by her unspoken strength. Jason, too, was changed. The shame of his words never left him, but instead of breaking him, it became his fuel. He trained harder, not to surpass Lena, but to learn from her. And though he never apologized in words, his actions spoke every day thereafter. The climax came during a night field exercise, when a simulated ambush scattered the recruits in panic. Jason froze, caught in the chaos, fear gripping him. But Lena was there, steady, fierce, fearless. She pulled him back, shouted commands, rallied the recruits, and led them to complete the mission. In that moment, Jason understood fully. Scars weren't weakness. They were maps of survival, proof of strength. By graduation, Lena stood at the front of the formation, call sign Phoenix ringing in the air as the general saluted her. She didn't need the approval of the recruits anymore, but she had earned it nonetheless. And Jason, he was the loudest to cheer her name, because sometimes it takes a scarred soldier to teach the unscarred what courage truly means.